Captain Daniel Chakuma, a black African soldier, survived the battlefield with only one dream in his heart: to reunite with his wife and daughter. But the moment he stepped into his own compound, that dream shattered. A stranger was inside his home. His wife was crying. And the truth was darker than betrayal, and more dangerous than any war he had ever fought. Tonight, you will discover a story of love, fear, revenge, and secrets buried so deep that even the bravest soldier trembles. This is The Soldier Who Returned to See His Wife with Another Man. But the truth is darker than betrayal. After 8 months of deployment, he had finally been granted leave. His heart raced from the moment he stepped off the military vehicle. His wife, Adeora, and their little daughter, Chisholm, were all he had dreamt of in the lonely war-scarred nights. Daniel tightened the straps on his duffel bag. With each step he took down the narrow path leading to his house, memories flashed. Adeora laughing as she cooked, Chisholm running into his arms, the warmth of home. He felt the weight of the world melt away. But halfway through the street, something twisted in his stomach. The gate to his compound was wide open. Adeora never left the gate open. His heartbeat picked up. Maybe she forgot. Maybe Chisholm opened it. Maybe. A voice echoed from inside. A man's voice. Daniel froze. Slowly he dropped his bag by the gate. He tiptoed toward the window, every soldier instinct heightening. When he peeped through the slightly parted curtain, his world collapsed. Inside the living room was Adeora, sitting close, far too close, to a man Daniel had never seen before. Their hands brushed as they talked. The stranger leaned in. Adeora didn't pull away. The man touched her shoulder. She smiled shyly. Daniel felt his chest burn. His breath trembled. His vision blurred. 8 months away. 8 months dreaming of home. And this was what he returned to. His fingers curled into fists as the man stood up, moved even closer to Adeora, and whispered something in her ear. Daniel's soul felt like collapsing in on itself. But then, suddenly, Adeora burst into tears. The man held her shoulders gently as she cried. Daniel staggered back from the window, confused, broken, furious, and yet strangely unsettled. This didn't look like romance. It looked like fear. And when the man glanced around nervously, as if checking the windows, Daniel realized something was terribly wrong. This wasn't a betrayal. At least, not the kind he thought. Something was happening in his home. Something he didn't understand. And he was about to walk straight into it. Daniel stood frozen outside his house. Every instinct screamed at him to storm inside, to confront the stranger touching his wife, to demand answers for the tears she shed. But years of military discipline held him back. He took a slow breath and rounded the back of the house instead. Through another window, he watched as the man handed Adeora a small envelope. She pushed it away with trembling hands. "No, I can't," she whispered. The man insisted. Adeora's hands covered her face. She shook her head. Then slowly she reached for the envelope. Daniel clenched his jaw. Was it money? A letter? Why was she accepting something from him? Just then the front door slammed shut. Daniel ducked behind a wall as the stranger came out of the house, glancing left and right like someone avoiding danger. He walked fast, almost running, down the street. When he was gone, Daniel finally approached the door. His hand hovered over the handle. His heart thudded painfully in his chest. He stepped inside. The living room smelled faintly of Adeora's perfume. The curtains fluttered softly. And there on the couch sat Adeora, clutching the envelope and crying uncontrollably. "Ada," he said quietly. She froze. Slowly, very slowly, she lifted her head. When her gaze met his, her entire body went stiff. "Daniel," she whispered, voice breaking. He nodded. Adeora dropped the envelope and ran to him. She threw herself into his arms, shaking violently as she sobbed into his chest. "You're back, you're really back," she cried. Daniel held her, but his mind raced. After a long moment, He pulled back and looked into her eyes. Who was that man? Adeora's lips parted, but no sound came out. She swallowed, trembling. It's not what you think, she whispered. Then what is it? His voice was gentle, but a storm was building inside him. Adeora wiped her tears and bent down to pick up the envelope. When she opened it, Daniel's breath caught. Inside were photographs of Adeora, but not normal photographs, secretly taken ones. Her walking Chisholm to school, her shopping at the market, her sitting alone on the balcony, looking sad. Dozens of them. Daniel's blood ran cold. Who took these? He asked sharply. Adeora shook her head. I don't know his name. He just showed up 2 months ago. He knows everything. He knows where I go. He knows when I'm alone. He said I must do exactly what he tells me or what? Adeora's face went pale. Or he would make sure you never returned home alive. Daniel felt the air leave his lungs. Someone had been watching his wife, threatening her, controlling her. While he was fighting for his country, she had been fighting for his life. And the stranger, who Daniel almost attacked, was not a lover. He was something far more dangerous. Why didn't you tell me? Daniel asked in a whisper. Adeora's tears spilled again. I didn't want to distract you. And he said if I told anyone, he would hurt Chisholm. Daniel felt the walls closing in. This was no ordinary stalker. This was a man with a purpose. And Daniel would soon discover that purpose was darker than anything he imagined. Daniel sat beside Adeora as she explained everything. Her voice trembled with every word, and each sentence tightened the knot in Daniel's chest. The first day he came, Adeora whispered. He told me I owed him something. That you owed him something. Me. Daniel frowned. Adeora nodded. He said you took something from him years ago. Something that belonged to him. Daniel stared at her, confused. I don't understand. I've never met this man. Adeora wiped her eyes. He said you ruined his life. He said he waited for the day you would be deployed so he could take his revenge slowly. A cold chill ran down Daniel's spine. Someone from his past. Someone from the field. He scanned his memory, but thousands of faces blurred together. Fellow soldiers, villagers, enemies, civilians caught in the crossfire, people he saved, people he failed to save. There's more, Adeora whispered. Her hands shook as she reached under the couch cushion and pulled out a small black device. Daniel's eyes went wide. A listening device. He put this in the house, she said. He said he needed to hear everything I said, to make sure I didn't tell anyone. Daniel stood up so quickly the chair almost fell. How long has he been listening? He asked. Adeora's answer was barely a whisper. Every day since the first time he came. Daniel's breath trembled as he stared at the device in his wife's hand. This wasn't just a revenge-driven stalker. This was a calculated enemy. One who had infiltrated his home and terrorized his family. Before Daniel could respond, the front door creaked open. He turned sharply. Little Chisholm ran inside, smiling brightly with her school bag bouncing behind her. Daddy! The sound crushed and healed his heart all at once. He rushed forward and lifted her high into the air as she giggled. But at the doorway stood the neighbor, Mama Kamsi, watching with a strange expression. She had brought Chisholm home. Her eyes lingered too long on Daniel, too long on Adeora. When Daniel looked back at her, she quickly looked away. Something about her reaction unsettled him. When she finally left, Daniel locked the door behind her. Adeora turned to him, her voice shaking. What are we going to do? Daniel stared at the listening device. The envelope. The open gate. At the window where he saw the stranger. Then he whispered. We are going to find him. He didn't know the truth yet. He didn't know how deep the betrayal went. He didn't know this man wasn't working alone. He didn't know the darkness wasn't coming for him. It was already inside his home. Night fell, swallowing the village in shadows. Daniel stayed awake, alert, watching every corner of the house. He had set traps, silent ones, little signs that would let him know if anyone tried to enter. By midnight, Adora and Chisholm had drifted into restless sleep. But Daniel's eyes remained sharp. At 1:43 a.m., something moved outside. Soft scrape. A rustle near the gate. Daniel rose quietly and slipped outside through the back door. The moonlight revealed a faint silhouette. Man. The same stranger. He was pacing outside the compound, checking his wrist anxiously, glancing around as if waiting for someone. Daniel's military instincts kicked in. He moved closer, silent as a shadow. As he approached, the stranger suddenly froze. "I know you're there," he whispered. Daniel stepped forward, anger burning in his eyes. "Turn around." The man obeyed slowly. In the moon's dim light, Daniel saw a scar cutting across his left cheek. His eyes were sunken, tired, and filled with a strange mixture of desperation and bitterness. "Who are you?" Daniel demanded. "Why are you tormenting my family?" The man took a shaky breath. "My name is Icum." Daniel didn't recognize him. "You say I ruined your life," Daniel said. "How?" Icum shook his head. "It wasn't you directly. It was your mission, your team." Memories of countless operations flickered in Daniel's mind. "We arrested many people. Save many too. If you were involved in something illegal." "I wasn't." Icum snapped, voice breaking. "I was a teacher. A simple teacher." Daniel hesitated. Icum continued, tears filling his eyes. "Your unit raided a compound 4 years ago. They said criminals were hiding there. They said a gang was operating inside. But it was a mistake. A terrible mistake." Daniel's heart tightened. "The explosion that followed," Icum whispered, voice cracking, "killed my wife, my son. My home was caught in the blast." Daniel felt the world spin. "I lost everything that night," Icum said, shaking. "And when I cried for justice, they silenced me. They called it collateral damage. They erased my complaint. No one listened." Daniel staggered back. He knew operations could go wrong. He had seen mistakes. But knowing he was part of a mission that cost an innocent man his family tore through him like a blade. "I searched for the man who led the operation," Icum continued. "Your name came up. Your face. Your record. You were praised, while my life burned." Daniel swallowed hard. "But why come after my wife? Why stalk her?" Icum wiped a tear. "I wanted you to feel what I felt. To fear for the people you love. I wanted to break your peace the way you broke my world." Daniel's fists trembled. "But when I saw her," Icum whispered, looking down, "I realized she was innocent too. She was just like my wife, kind, loving, gentle. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted you to come home. To face you." Something in his voice, fragile, broken, human, made Daniel pause. Then Icum said the last thing Daniel expected. "I'm not the only one you should fear." Daniel's breath halted. "What do you mean?" Icum looked up slowly. "The person who gave me your address. The person who encouraged me to confront you." Daniel stepped closer. "Was someone inside your own neighborhood?" Daniel's blood ran cold. "Who?" he whispered. Icum swallowed hard. "Mama Kamsi." The revelation hit Daniel like a storm. Mama Kamsi. The friendly neighbor who brought food during Adora's pregnancy. The one who babysat Chisholm many times. Why would she do this? Daniel demanded. Icum sighed heavily. Because she hates soldiers. She believes the military destroyed her family too. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Her husband died in an armed robbery incident. Icum nodded. Yes. But she always believed soldiers were involved, because a military vehicle was seen near the scene. She spent years blaming the army. Daniel felt dread coil in his chest. "She told me," Icum whispered, "that you were the one who led the team. She said if I wanted closure, I needed to confront you." Daniel shook his head slowly. But I wasn't even in this region when her husband died. I know, Icum said. She lied. She manipulated me. But by the time I realized, I had already frightened your wife. I'd crossed too many lines. I didn't know how to stop. Daniel's hands loosened a little. Icum wasn't a monster. He was a broken man manipulated by someone drowning in her own bitterness. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. Dora! Daniel spun around and dashed into the house. Icum followed. Inside, they found Mama Kamsi standing in the living room, trembling, holding Chisholm by the wrist. Adeora stood between them, terrified. Mama Kamsi! Daniel shouted. She turned, startled to see him home. Her eyes were wide, unsteady, filled with pain and rage. You! She shouted. You soldiers think you can destroy families and return to your comfortable homes. You think you can leave widows to suffer while you enjoy your wives and children. Daniel raised his palms gently. Please, let her go. She tightened her grip on little Chisholm. Why should you have happiness when I lost everything? Why? Icum stepped forward quietly. His voice was soft. Mama Kamsi, hurting them won't heal you. It didn't heal me. She turned to him, tears spilling. You said. I was wrong, Icum whispered. And you misled me. But I understand your pain. Really do. Yet this little girl. She has done nothing to you. Let her go. Mama Kamsi's hand trembled. Her chest heaved. Her eyes darted between Daniel, Dora, Icum, and the sleeping photographs on the table. Finally, her grip loosened, and Chisholm ran into Adeora's arms. Mama Kamsi broke into sobs and collapsed to the floor. Daniel exhaled deeply. The nightmare was finally ending. Police arrived minutes later, and Mama Kamsi was taken for psychological evaluation. Not prison. Daniel insisted. Revenge had already destroyed too many lives. Icum, humbled and remorseful, turned himself in for the harassment, though Daniel begged the authorities to consider his trauma. His case was handled with compassion. Weeks later, peace slowly returned to Daniel's home. One evening, he sat outside watching the sunset while Adeora leaned on his shoulder. You came back to a storm, she whispered. Daniel smiled faintly. But storms pass. And we survived it together. Adeora held his hand tightly. I'm glad the truth came out. Even though it hurt. Daniel looked at his daughter playing in the yard, laughter finally returning to the air. Some truths cut deep. Some truths break hearts. But the darkest truths are the ones that remind us how fragile people can be, and how healing begins when we choose to forgive. The end.